It's nice to see everyone here, and especially those faces I saw yesterday. It's good to know that you had a great time. It was awesome, powerful learning sessions with key takeaway, and I'm sure we're in for an awesome time this morning.
We are all implicated one way or the other. And it's about, that's the whole thing about sustainability. So who is being impacted and who is causing that impact and what can be done about the impact? If I'm a bank, before I lend you money to buy things like that, I want to be sure that you don't have, the things that are important do not have any negative impact on society. I think the government now has a list of things it can import, right? And things it can't import. That's also one way the government is trying to help. But as consumers as well, it's for us also to ask questions, because without us demanding these things, no demand, no supply. That's pure economics. So that's the image, or my take on impact, and what I wanted to bear in mind as I quickly go through some of these tools here now. Let me try. Okay, good. So here are some of my assumptions that sustainability is about impact. But I want to also fundamentally emphasize that sustainability is in the mind, it's mindset. There is a difference between thinking and doing. And that gap is part of the problem we have when it comes to sustainability. So when we live here now, our thinking probably would have been enhanced. But why is it that we're unable to do and take this into action? So the first part is that we develop our thinking, our awareness, impact awareness is at the level of thinking. We have this ethical consciousness. I talked about being fair to the other person. So why is it that we're unable to do it? There are pressures that will come in between.
Permit me to provide some background. The concept of sustainable development goals in Nigeria. This got prominence worldwide in 1987 with the publication of the United Nations Land Report, also known as Our Common Future. The report consciously defines sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development derives its intent from the conceptualization of sustainable development. Broadly, in 2030, the 2030 Agenda envisions a present and a future that are economically sustainable, socially inclusive, and economically resilient. This is expressed through the framing of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which goes 1 to 17, that talks about social development, economic development, climate change, and the environment. The world leader, including our President Muhammadu Buhari, adopted the SDG at the United Nations General Assembly in September 2015. Conceptually, the 17 SDG goals, also known as our global goals, are universal calls to action to end poverty on its all ramifications, to safeguard the planet and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by the year 2030. And with the support and collaboration of everybody, I'm sure if you don't achieve, we'll be very close to achieve that. And that is the essence of this conference. Private sector working with the public sector, having the same common agenda to ensure that we reduce poverty to the barest minimum.
One of the speakers mentioned very clearly earlier, like I also mentioned yesterday, some of the environmental policies that we have around, flowing around Africa, and it's not just in Africa, it's some part of Eastern Europe as well. These policies are as old as half a decade, half a century. They do not particularly hit the point of what we're looking at in the current world. As a result, there is need for us to collaborate, there is need for us to engage critically, and more importantly, look at the undertone, the fine print of all these things we're talking about.
So one of the things that I've realized is unemployment is often discussed as a subset of bigger issues, people claim. And some of these issues have been mentioned today. Education is a big one. Healthcare is a big one. Terrorism now and insecurity is a big one. But we all know that sitting at the bedrock of unemployment is inequality. I definitely think that how we catalyze, there's a huge opportunity in supporting our tech ecosystem. And I mean, that is something that I'm happy that Lagos is home to in Nigeria. And we're doing that how? A lot of people are building businesses in their homes. But you know what the challenge is? Data, so electricity. And so one of the things that we're doing with our program is giving people access to workspace vouchers.
There are desired objectives, the clear desired objectives to be met. The EIA report is just a decision-making tool towards those objectives. For example, that of inclusiveness is one of the issues that probably would have been identified in the report. So it is a means to an end. The report is in itself is not the end, but there is that risk that financial institutions just sign off, and the risk is more pronounced because for long-term projects, you are going to require an adaptive management framework.
Really, when you look at the environment, the ecosystem, AVPA is really trying to figure out how to address those gaps. And one of the things that we're going to do that is by setting up a knowledge center. And this knowledge center will address some of these policy gaps. In fact, we're going to have a roadshow with other, organizations across Africa who are focused on creating and enabling environments for inclusive business. So that's coming up very soon.
Healthy and productive societies are the ultimate goal of sustainability. You are doing something so ask whether it's going to affect the life and the productivity of human being. If it doesn't, that is not sustainability, the way I see it. Other things will contribute to it, but they either indirectly or indirectly. Now, partnerships is key. We need a mentorship, a paradigm shift for partnership. Instead of thinking competition, we should think of partnership.
And the fact that people do well in school means that the labor force in the future will be better manpower.
If you do not anchor sustainability at the highest level of governance, you're not going anywhere. And then again, from a corporate perspective, you cannot go very far as a company or as a corporation, even as an individual, if the governance of your country is not in order.
There's no way a sector can expect one other sector to just be dropping funds, and then the only thing it does is to pick up the fund and implement project and expect sustainability. That's not sustainable, I think so. What I think is the fact that, the reason in Nigeria today, I'm very, very particular about maternal mortality, sexual and reproductive health, because I think they are very strong elements to achieving sustainable development. We all know that choices are powerful. Many women in the world today do not have the power to make a choice. When to give birth, how to give birth. And so many of these things happen. But most importantly, why do we have more mortality among non-profit than maternal mortality in Nigeria? I mean, the rate of mortality in non-profit organization in Nigeria today is more than the maternal mortality in Nigeria. But nobody cares to investigate because many non-profit are set up without character and competence.
The government must build the platforms that can help the private sector, the non-profit sector to be able to assess this where we are at. In another 11 years, we're going to be measuring where we are at in terms of the SDGs. If at 2030, we need to be saying where are we now for us to know where we are going to get to in 2030. And this applies to every arm of government. This applies to all the sectors. To achieve this, we must collaborate. The government must play its part, the private sector must play its part, as well as the non-profit sector.
It's important, that we have government bringing out regulations. But if you look at the sustainability space as an example, typically responsibility is judged by saying, as an example, okay, so you're able to spend maybe 1% of your income or your profits on sustainability. But if you look at a lot of corporate organizations, you find out that they are even spending more than the 1%. Some are spending 2%, some are spending 5%.
So we've heard a lot about stakeholder engagement and partnering with stakeholders today, and that's really what this principle is about. It's to say that banks can only go so far on their own. They need to be partnering with their clients, taking their clients on a journey with them. They need to be engaging with other stakeholders to better understand their impact, the impact of their lending, and also to understand what are society's needs, what are these things that we need to be working towards so that they get it right.
All of us in this room, I'm sorry, we're all privileged lots. Every one of us in this room is actually privileged. That's why we sat here having this conversation. The 80% out there who are struggling on less than $1 a day to survive is who you should be worried about. So, in terms of capacity, it's massive.
So we have worked with the federal government, to the DMO, to, as a matter of fact, we worked with them on the first climate bond, certified green bond that was issued not just in Africa, but in the world. That's the first sovereign green bond to be issued. And obviously, on the corporate side, you can see how we have also worked with Access Bank as the first institution to also raise capital through their green bond program. And so we're very much involved in providing investor education, especially in the area of workshops. We've organized a series of workshops. We've had a summit of this nature as well later on in the year, and we continue to engage with corporates who are looking to raise capital through these means.
Natural capital is an emergent issue or phrase. To us, in this part of the world, it's not in our lexicon. What does it imply? You take water, you eat food. What are those things that nature has given to us freely? Those are natural assets. That is natural assets. Bill Gates said in the next 10 years, we will need a new New York every single month to be built. What else do you want to hear? Now, where do we come in is how do we get finance? Because CSR will not take us to a destination ever. I mean, like you said, it's a journey, there's no destination anyway. So we have to be able to access the normal funding of banks. So what I would suggest is the civil society, instead of, it's good for them to do what they're doing, but a blend to that is that let them start to think about ways to get grants that would invest in developing bankable feasibility studies and business plans.
It's God Almighty that's made this happen and made it a huge success. Today has been awesome. Thank you to every single person in the hall. A very, very big thank you to all of the speakers. Olumide, thank you. Olumide Lala, thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Indidi. Thank you, my Oga at NSC. God bless you. Thank you so much. Very short notice, but you're always there with us, supporting us. Prof, I can't say thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the team from UNFPA, Dr. Bankole Alide. Thank you so much, Dr. Eugene Itwa, always being with us. We work together on e-waste management, and we're doing all sorts of things together, even with Lagos State government. Thank you to everybody, Barrister Kende, Dr. Ken Edbas. Thank you so much for coming and staying to the end. Thank you to everybody. I truly appreciate you. God bless you.